Welcome to another HistorySpeak.com podcast. This episode is titled Benedict Arnold, America's Most Infamous Turncoat. Learn why Benedict Arnold betrayed the United States of America during the American Revolutionary War, and then learn what became of him after his defection to the British Crown. Infamous figures in United States history are individuals widely discussed for their notoriety, betrayal, or role in major national controversies and tragedies, rather than traditional heroism. Some of the most widely known names that live in infamy in the U.S. include John Wilkes Booth, Lizzie Borden, Bonnie and Clyde, Al Capone, Lee Harvey Oswald, Charles Manson, Ted Bundy, and Benedict Arnold. Notably, Benedict Arnold has been on this list of infamous figures the longest and was possibly the first in U.S. history. Benedict Arnold was born in 1741 and died in 1801. He was born in the colony of Connecticut in British America. Prior to the American Revolutionary War, he was a pharmacist, bookseller, and a merchant operating ships in the Atlantic Ocean. He joined the American Continental Army outside of Boston and distinguished himself by acts that demonstrated military strategic intelligence and bravery. His succession of military ranks in the Continental Army is very impressive. He started as captain in March of 1775, and in less than 2 years, he was a major general. The American Revolutionary War began in 1775 and ended in 1783, and it was an armed conflict in which 13 of Great Britain's North American colonies revolted against British rule to establish the sovereign nation of the United States of America. In 1776, there were 26 British colonies across British America, which included continental North America and the Caribbean. Only 13 of these colonies, Connecticut, Delaware, Georgia, Maryland, Massachusetts, New Hampshire, New Jersey, New York, North Carolina, Pennsylvania, Rhode Island, South Carolina, and Virginia, rebelled to form the United States of America. The other 13, including 6 in continental North America, East Florida, West Florida, Nova Scotia, province of Quebec, island of St. John, and Newfoundland, remained loyal to the British Crown. On a historical note, France sided with the United States during the American Revolutionary War, primarily to weaken Great Britain, its primary geopolitical rival. Having lost significant colonial territories to the British during the 7 Years' War, called the French and Indian War, here in North America, that lasted from 1756 to 1763, France sought to diminish British global power by supporting the American insurgents. George Washington said that Benedict Arnold was a brave man and will fight. Benedict Arnold was considered to be one of the Continental Army's most brilliant combat commanders, who was not afraid to risk his own life in battle and became known as America's fighting general. His defining military victories included the bloodless capture of Fort Ticonderoga in 1775, relieving the siege of Fort Stanwix in 1777, and spearheading the decisive turning point victory at the battles of Saratoga in 1777. He suffered 2 major and 1 minor injuries in battle, all in his left leg, which eventually sidelined him from the battlefields. Benedict Arnold became discontented with the United States of America because of several factors, including intense resentment over being passed over for promotions, several financial distress issues, and ideological disillusionment with the American cause. Feeling unappreciated by Congress and facing accusations of misconduct, Arnold believed his military contributions were undermined by rival officers. The U.S. Continental Congress actually refused to reimburse Benedict Arnold for some of his out-of-pocket military expenses, which included soldier payments and supplies. This was due to poor record keeping, strict scrutiny of American emergency purchases, and political rivalries. Benedict Arnold's second wife, Peggy Shippen, a devoted British loyalist who came from a prominent and sympathetic Tory family in Philadelphia, influenced him to join the British side of the American Revolutionary War. Peggy Shippen played a central and active role as an intelligence conduit in her husband's plot to surrender the Continental Army base at West Point, a crucial Hudson River outpost to the British. She maintained secret correspondence with a British spy named John Andre while using coded messages and invisible ink. Benedict Arnold turned traitor when he used his position of commander to weaken the crucial Hudson River garrison of West Point, and then plotted to secretly hand it over to the British in exchange for a substantial amount of money and a commission in the British Army. Benedict Arnold's plot to surrender the strategically vital West Point fort to the British in September 1780 was foiled when his co-conspirator, British Major John Andre, was captured behind American lines. The discovery of secret documents about West Point's defenses hidden in Andre's stocking exposed Benedict Arnold as a traitor and caused the conspiracy to collapse. Arnold fled to a British ship and defected to the British side. Andre was hanged. The plot was one of the most critical moments of the American Revolution. Had it succeeded, the British would have seized the Hudson River, effectively cutting off supplies and crippling transportation to the New England colonies from the rest of the continent. George Washington said, "Arnold has betrayed me. Whom can we trust now?" Washington then issued orders to hang Arnold immediately if he were to be captured. Following his failed plot to surrender West Point, Benedict Arnold was commissioned as a British brigadier general. He then commanded British forces against his former comrades. In late 1780 and throughout 1781, British leadership sent Arnold to wage war on his former countrymen. His most significant military campaign against the Continentals took place in Virginia. The Raid of Richmond in January of 1781. Arnold led a force of approximately 800 British regulars and some Loyalist troops up the James River. He successfully captured and burned Richmond, Virginia, which was the state capital at the time, and he also destroyed public buildings and ruined a nearby gun foundry, disrupting supply lines. His incursions were highly effective at destroying Patriot supplies, interrupting the flow of men to General Nathanael Greene's Southern Army, and forcing the Continental forces to constantly divert troops to defend the region. On September 6, 1781, Connecticut native, and infamous traitor, now British General Benedict Arnold, led a force of 1,700 British troops and Loyalists in a devastating raid on New London and Groton, Connecticut, which was near the town where he actually had grown up. Ordered by British command to disrupt colonial shipping and force General George Washington to divert troops from Yorktown, the raid resulted in the destruction of New London by fire and the infamous massacre of surrendering American militiamen at Fort Griswold. Now, the Battle of Groton Heights is also known as the Battle of Fort Griswold. On an historical note, after surrendering at the Battle of Groton Heights, Continental Army Colonel Ledyard was murdered. What exactly happened upon his surrender remains a subject of historical debate, but the tragic results of the surrender are well documented. According to American accounts, Colonel Ledyard was murdered with his own sword. Following Ledyard's death, British troops bayoneted and shot surrendering Americans, resulting in the deaths of 88 soldiers and the wounding of over 60. Only 26 Americans who surrendered were unharmed. Benedict Arnold did not order the massacre at Fort Griswold, but as the commanding general who orchestrated the raid, he's been held responsible by history for the brutality of the troops under his command. The British surrendered at Yorktown, Virginia in 1781, which was the final major land engagement and the beginning of the end of the American Revolutionary War. It was decisively won by the Continental Army, led by George Washington, with significant support from the French Army and Navy. Marquis de Lafayette, the French military officer who volunteered to join the Continental Army and was actually commissioned as a major general at the young age of 19, commanded Continental Army troops during the siege of Yorktown. After the British defeated Yorktown, Benedict Arnold and his family moved to England in December 1781. He returned to North America to New Brunswick in what is now Canada. For several years, from 1785 to about 1791, he ran a business, and then he returned to England, where he spent the rest of his life. After the American Revolutionary War, Arnold never stepped foot back in the United States. The American Revolutionary War effectively ended in 1781 with the British surrender at Yorktown. However, it officially concluded on September 3, 1783, when Great Britain and the United States signed the Treaty of Paris. This treaty formally recognized the United States as an independent and sovereign nation. Why did the United States never capture Benedict Arnold? There were several reasons. Swift defection to the British side. After his plot to surrender West Point was exposed in 1780, Arnold quickly fled to a British ship, avoiding imminent arrest by the Continental Army. Illusion of kidnap attempts. While George Washington despised him and favored his capture, even attempting a kidnapping to bring him back for execution, these efforts to seize him from his British allies all failed. British protection. He became a general in the British Army, and following the Revolutionary War, moved to London, where he was shielded and outside of United States jurisdiction. The United States focused on post-war reconstruction. After the war ended, the U.S. government was focused on securing peace and rebuilding. To engage in a risky intelligence operation in England to seize a turncoat officer was not a priority of the young United States government. Following the American Revolutionary War, Benedict Arnold relocated to London and then later Canada, struggling to find acceptance in the British society. He attempted to secure various government and military appointments, but ultimately returned to private businesses, focusing on merchant trading, privateering, and land speculation in the West Indies and New Brunswick in Canada, where he had some modest success. Benedict Arnold died on June 14, 1801, in London, England, at the age of 60. He passed away at his home from declining health, including gout and dropsy. Benedict Arnold is buried in the crypt of St. Mary's Church in Battersea, London, England. His remains were placed in the church's basement vault, alongside his wife Peggy Shippen and their daughter Sophia. Benedict Arnold's legacy. For well over 200 years, Benedict Arnold's name continues to be a byword for treason. His betrayal overshadowed his numerous accomplishments. His actions created a lesson for trust and loyalty, because he proved that once trust is broken, it may never be forgotten. Benedict Arnold was portrayed in an interesting political cartoon in 1865. In this cartoon, at the end of the American Civil War, Benedict Arnold, who was once an American hero, then became one of its most notorious enemies, was partnered with Jefferson Davis, the President of the Confederate States of America, both infamous traitors against the United States. The devil states he is proud of his American sons, both Benedict and Jeff.